Holbrook New Media.
This is Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Welcome to the audio feed from holbrooknewmedia.com. Today, Geoff and Jeffrey, the weekly catch-up. We hope you enjoy the audio version. If you want to see what we look like, I will embed the video for this episode at holbrooknewmedia.com.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Blanchard. I was going to say Jeffrey K. Holbrook, but I'm not.
Okay, well, I'm Geoff Holbrook.
I'm Jeffrey Blanchard. Next to me.
And I just messed you up. Wait a minute. I think we need to start all over again. What do you think?
That's right. Let's do it.
I'll mix my speakers up too.
Oh, well, we'll just do that. This is part of it. And we'll just say, hello, I'm Geoff Blanchard.
And I'm Jeffrey K. Holbrook. And this is the weekly catch-up.
Finally. And you do realize, well, good evening, by the way, good morning.
Good evening to you, sir.
You realize, but what I've done also as well, I automated that. So when I start the titles, it automatically comes into this shot. So I don't have to wait for it to finish and press the other shot.
Automation is good.
By itself. But do you know what?
What?
Do you think I can remember how I did that? No. Because I'm trying to build the timeline by using the shots I've got. But the only way I can figure out how to do it is build new shots again. But I'm sure I didn't. I'm sure I dragged and dropped them over each other that created a list. But I can't drag and drop anything. So goodness knows how I create. And I'm sure I did because I didn't create the scenes again. I just dropped them into there. Anyway, I might figure it out one day because the whole point is what I'd like to do is do a whole show's an hour's worth just going from different shots without me having to say, oh, this is me talking again, so I'll do a full shot of me talking again and then going back to our group shot or just me and you. So anyway, maybe that's what some people like to have the fun of, just chopping and changing.
Well, yeah, like I say, but, automation's cool as long as, the human element doesn't kind of get in the way of your automation. Everything is great because, you could just automate it and then every time it just goes to me, I'll just keep talking and then...
Well, that's right. And then if I do this one and just disappear and just go quiet,
I have to say stuff.
and I'll just have to put us back on that one there. So I must say, I don't have to encourage you to say much because I keep watching. Say bling bling, and I say, oh, there's another Jeffrey Holbrook coming up. And when you was at what's it called? The film review thing when you was a
the
guest.
Cinema Toast Crunch podcast.
You were so excited. I'll tell you what, you could just tell you was enjoying yourself so much seeing all those movies on the shelves and seeing what you were going to do. Those guys look like they'd be really good fun to hang out with for, pick a movie and then go and watch it. And they just seem like they'd be really nice people to hang around with. Well,
they are. You have Brett Lewis, of course. He was the guy that was telling you which movie we were doing that day. And then Garvis Reed II. He's the one. He's actually kind of the founding guy of the show. And both of those guys just have great movie knowledge. They have certain areas that they like, but they really love movies. And again, Garvis used to also do movie reviews in a magazine. He was a movie review blogger type of a guy. And so he's got all kinds of street cred along with all those movies and everything he's got there. Brett loves movies too and just knows a lot about the directors and a lot about everything. These guys are great. Like you say, that's about, I think, the fourth time I've been on their show. And it's like you say, it's a good romp, and we watch movies that, like you say, we watch it right then and then come back and talk about it. It's really cool.
What I was really impressed with, and I wish it was in the same country. I just wanted to know, who did he get to build his shelves to put his movies in? Or did he do it himself?
He did it himself. It's basically 1-inch boards. one by sixes, I guess, look like to me. And they were just home built shelves, I mean, really fairly simple to put together. You could even, they look like to me, they're mostly all the same size, but you could customize them and just make the shelves longer or shorter to fill in whatever space you want to fill in. But he's got 2 rooms across the hallway from each other full of those movies. And there's still some in boxes he hadn't got on shelves yet.
But you forget though, Geoff. Remember one of the names of one of our previous shows? He can't even hit a nail.
Can't even hammer a nail.
For a nail. He said that was me. So you say you can do this, you can do that. No, you. Some people might be able to, but all I'll end up with is a monstrosity, and then I'll have all these DVDs, and I'll be fast asleep one night. There'll be like a big bang, and it'll have all collapsed and that because I've done. I built a bookshelf that was so easy that you're buying this kit thing for DVDs, you build it, you can't get it wrong. But I got it upside down.
Oh.
Because sort of the bottom, the waist side, the bottom of it was on the top, so that's supposed to be under that way. So I thought, even then, I can't get it right.
Well, anybody wants to get a hold of them, they are in various versions of Cinema Toast Crunch podcast. I believe that's going to be on Facebook. And anyway, all the stuff, if you go to geoffholbrook.me to my YouTube channel, you can see the picture of the guy with the big white beard with a big smile on his face, and the headline on it is about an epic movie collection this guy has. Podcaster has epic movie collection, I think is what it is. But anyway, it'll give you all the contact information. I even put some funny credits at the end just for the fun of it, because it's a movie show.
But I tell you what, I would enjoy, because I enjoy movies as well, and I'll probably collect a few more odd bod things. The only thing that's stopping me at the moment, because each time I buy one, I've got to put it somewhere, and I just don't like buying anymore because I thought I've got so many of them. Just I'll tell you where I've got a lot of them. Remember when we all had just normal, those pathetically small 26-inch TVs or 29-inch, the normal 4x3s. Well, I've got a big wooden cabinet that I got. So you put your TV in. It's got stereo cabinet on either side, so a glass cabinet on either side, and places for your records and all that. Well, now nothing fits in that, of course. No telly will fit in it because it's too much. But now I've got all that stacked, all where you would put your stereo stuff, all with DVDs on, all 3 levels deep, and all that's chock-a-block with DVDs. And I've got another wall unit chock-a-block with DVDs, then another one, but the behind, and I've just got to have a way to put them so I want them all in one place so I can put them all in alphabetical order and know where they start, because I know, okay, A, B, C, D, E. Where's E? I know it should be next, but it's not here. Which cabinets? Oh, that starts on that cabinet over there. And then you have to figure out which way. But I figure I'll do what he did. Just make every wall of the house a shelf for a DVD player, because that's pretty much what he had, wasn't it?
It's two, like I say, up upstairs, a couple of upstairs bedrooms are his DVDs, and like I say, they are alphabetical, and what he's got on shelves right now are up through the T's. And so he hasn't finished. The rest of them are still in boxes, and so but he's buying new things on a regular basis. He likes to peruse pawn shops, which are resale type of shops, and so he finds a lot of treasures there, like steel boxes or whatever you call those, and different collector's edition box sets of different things. And I mean, it's just like you say, I did it in fast motion, like 8 times speed or something, but I mean, that's a lot of movies. I mean, and and then the one we watched the other night, I don't think he had that one in particular, but Brett went ahead and bought it or brought it in, and that's the one we ended up watching. They alternate on who's picking the movie, back and forth.
I've got a box set of DVDs. I should donate to them because I can't. Nobody else will take it off my hands. It's the most hideous thing. It's a recent one. It's the Gene Roddenberry one. I forget what it's called, but it was after Star Trek and all that, and people just think, oh, it's Gene Roddenberry, but it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And I must have known when it was a box set of 40 DVDs for something like $49.95. So I should have known. I should have known by that. I got through about three DVDs, and I thought, I bought this. I'm going to watch this, but I couldn't. And then somebody says, "Oh, I'm interested." I said, "Would you like to borrow it?" And like you do with people, you lend things, and if I lend things, I lend it for me in my mind that I won't get it back. I know most people will give it back, but I won't lend things if I'm not prepared to not get it back. If I'm that concerned about it,
right,
I won't lend it. So I was lending it, and I thought, well, if I don't mention anything, maybe I've got rid of it that way, because it took up a lot of space. But unfortunately, they hated it that much they gave it back fairly quickly.
I'm giving this right back to you.
I'm giving this right. I said I was hoping you'd forget about that, and you would think, oh, I've got that here. I haven't returned that. I was hoping you would take that off my hand, but I can't even remember what it's called. I'll have to get it ready for you next week. But it was.
No, I would be curious about that myself, because is this another space series that he did?
Oh, it's a cross between Star Trek and Coneheads. That's all I can say.
Well, I mean, if it's something that I've never heard of it, I would be interested in seeing a couple episodes of that myself. If it's that bad, yeah, it'd be funny.
You'll have to see that, but I just can't believe it's just some. I just can't even. I just don't know what people were thinking, because it's not like it was done in the 70s or 80s. It's probably mid-90s and that, or early 2000s, but it's just.
But if you go to the trouble to do that, I promise you I will not send it back. I mean, I will suffer if I have to.
Thing is, it's probably in our region code, so I bet you it won't play on your region.
I do have a DVD that's multi-region. Yeah, it'll play.
Yes, what I do too. So that's what I'm looking at as well now. I've gone off the other tech side and starting to go concentrate a little bit in that. I was quite seeing that Cinema Crunch. Now I've got to watch the review, so I've got to go to Cinema Crunch to see the review.
The reviews, the reviews themselves. They have a Facebook page. What they're doing, I'm trying to help them get organized with where everything's going to be. They have cinematoastcrunch.com, but they haven't pointed it to anything yet, and I think they're kind of waiting on me to set up a few things to point at. I'm wondering if it needs to be pointed to their Facebook page, because they seem to have more of a presence there than other places. Libsyn, Liberated Syndication, that distributes our podcasts, they have an updated, better looking website now that's a little better for what's going on. So they may decide to send it over there. But just go on Facebook, which I don't think you're on Facebook much, are you? But Cinema Toast Crunch, one way or another, we could get you. We could make sure you got a copy of the thing. But you could, if you just want it's an audio podcast. So if you wanted the audio, I guarantee I could put it in our. You can subscribe to them, or I could actually put it in the Dropbox or something.
But even then, put something. If you send me a sort of a link to something, I'll put it in our show notes.
Sure. And
put it on that for this show, so I can link to it, but other people can, because I think they would get a lot out of it. But I think those guys would do well if they did a video podcast, because they come across really nice. I think it would come across even better seeing them talk about it, because they had just in that short thing, they had a very good presence about them.
I was impressed, because I sprung that on them. I was going to go over and be on the show. I just popped out with my phone and said, "Guys, hey, look, I'm going to do this. Brett, I'm going to have you talk about the movie since you brought it in, and then Garvis, I'll go to you and you'll have the other thing." And he was, you can tell how to get hold of everybody. And they said, "Okay." So I just turned the thing on cold turkey, and I'm like, "Hey," and Brett, of course, takes the phone, and then he puts his hand over the camera whenever he picks the phone. And he goes, "Yeah," and I just put my hand over the camera. I'm fired.
And I was just going to say, you just impromptu turned the phone on, but you just happen to have your microphone in your hand. you just walk around with that. I just film. Oh, just so happen to have my mic. So I'd hate to see you walking down the street. You've just got your.
Put a little microphone on there. Yeah. No, this here was just with the phone, without any accoutrements at all. It was just the phone.
Well, that's the best ones, when you didn't expect to do anything, so you're not expecting anything out. something's better than nothing, but sometimes the best ones come out of that. And that was really good. I enjoyed that.
But I'm really surprised at how good the audio is just with the raw phone. The video now the lighting in there wasn't the best in the world, but boy, that thing really makes up a lot of light. And I had a window behind me, so I was getting a big old light shine coming from in front of my face from behind me. But the way it works up, I mean, the audio, yeah, you can hear some echo just like you would in any echoey room, but the audio that phone is producing all by itself, I'm really surprised at how good the audio is that goes with the videos. And the video, of course, is good if you have a reasonable light,
Well, speaking about audio, that's the thing. I did something on Sunday that I never do, is don't go and do things out of your normal sequence. Just stick to your normal sequence and everything will work fine. So what we did on Sunday, I said to Rick, I'll run the show, because I said I'll email them and I said, I've had a hat. I can't be bothered getting up on the Saturday morning. So I said, I'll do the show on Sunday. And so I'm already logged in, ready, waiting, getting set up. I thought I'll get all set up, ready for 1 o'clock. And Rick calls me early.
Oh.
And so, yeah, okay, that's great. Well, ready to go. Let's go, because I had it all set up and record. And then just as I'd finished it, I thought, oh, Dan, I didn't have my headphones on. Because when we chat on a Sunday without that, we just have the speakers on. And
I heard. I knew that's what was happening when I was seeing the audio on his end of it. I was like, uh-oh.
And then I noticed it, but I thought, oh, no. And because I was out of sequence, I put my earphones on. And one of the cardinal rules that we broke was, it's usually like same thing with Rick. When he's controlling it, I'm not to phone him, he phones me. And same with it. I phone you, so when I'm ready, and we all set up, so and so we do that. But I thought we'll just see, we're both on early, and I got on early to do that. But you see where I couldn't hear anything and he couldn't hear anything, but I said, yeah, well, of course it would. It pound to come out of that speaker into that. But at least it didn't do really echoey that you couldn't. It just sounded like it was in a tunnel all the time, didn't it? So
yeah. It added some heavy reverb instead of a ha. It was so close, that it just fattened it up real big and made it sound like it had reverb really heavy. So it wasn't.
I won't do that again. But I thought, hey, it was that or nothing. And then I couldn't figure out on the show it did that. And I'm looking at my thing. I said, gee, we've been going an hour. And then we stopped. And then when I saw, it only says 28 minutes that we was going for. But this timer on this, when I'd hit record or the stream, it said over an hour. I thought that went down quick, because we had a chat for about 40 minutes after that. But I thought it just got to, so that was just it was Tom Sinclair said, just don't do anything special. Do what you normally do. He said, because it will all go to pot. It will all go wrong if you try and do something that's out of your routine. Don't change anything. Just do it the same way. He said, do it when you've finished, and then try. And you've got 3 or 5 days before the show again. But don't just try something new before you go live doing that. So I felt really embarrassed when I saw that. I thought, oh, but I put that in the credits. I thought I messed up the sound shockingly. So
oh well, stuff happens. One of the things I did that was funny, and Garvis even called me on it during the show whenever I was over there. I have gotten used to, since whenever we're recording here, one of the things that I have learned is that if I speak while you're saying something, or I go or something like that, it drops your audio on my end.
Oh, okay. Doesn't on mine.
And no, it doesn't. It doesn't on your recording on the other side where you're streaming and stuff. But on the audio for me, since I'm doing a separate audio recording, if you're saying a sentence and I go, oh yeah, it drops your audio, it dips it and brings it back up. And so I was looking at Garvis and he was saying something, and I was looking at him going, and he goes, Geoff, nodding your head doesn't do anything on an audio podcast. And I said, well, actually, I didn't have anything to say right then. I was, but that was the thing I've learned on this side of it, that I need to not say things like, yeah, stuff like that while you're speaking, or I will lose your audio. Just it'll dip and then come back. So I was behaving like that over there, and it was kind of funny.
And with them, with their audio podcasts, it's just there in the room, so it wouldn't make any difference. It's just an open mic, so it wouldn't cut off, would it? It's only because of Skype, because it's doing that thing to stop the echo coming back. It says, well, while Geoff's speaking, I'll temporarily cut it off or do that. When you speak, I've got to cut him off so your voice can get over to him. So, you just get so spoiled with telephones at how well that they do it these days. But it's amazing how off phones are when you've got somebody in the same room and you phone them. You think, hang on, you can't talk to them because it's so out of sync. You think, how do we do that? Well, you do that all the time, but you don't know it's 2 seconds behind because it's just you're all talking the same and get the response at the same time.
Well, the new area that I work in, it sounds hilarious. Whenever you get on the intercom system and you have to page a supervisor or somebody like that, there is a huge delay because our section now is out on the loading dock is where they've put where I'm working at now. And so there's this, so you're talking and you are half a word behind everything you're saying. So what you have to do is just ignore that and power through, because it is so far off that it is just disturbing whenever you're trying to do it. So you just have to concentrate on what you're saying and ignore the echo in the air because there's a huge echo. So I've had people making comments that they really enjoy hearing me page people.
Because I suppose with that, there's probably no delay. It gets it straight away, but by the time it comes out of that speaker, but then by the time it gets back to you, it's a second or two because it comes out straight away, but the speaker's so far away from that. And that's what people don't understand when they do it with video cameras and that. And sometimes they, try sync it and say, well, why am I out? Because, well, there still is that distance sometimes if there's a sound or what between it getting to the camera and that. So even when you sync it properly, they think, well, I was okay when I was in front of it, but then I moved away. So, well, no, the sound, that's if you're using the thing on the camera, it's still going to take a while for the sound to get there. So sometimes your lips will be out, even though it's synced. You synced it straight away there, but when you move away, if the mic's still there, it's not always going to be the same. So,
well, the first time I ever noticed that there was a difference in sound, because people think of sound as being instant, but it's not. It's actually quite slow compared to a lot of other things. And we used to live, out in the country, out on a farm, and we had this basketball court that was, I don't know how many yards from the house. It was a long way. But if you were at the house and you were watching somebody dribbling a basketball, the ball was almost back up to their hand before you heard the noise. Yeah, before you heard the noise. And so it was, they go bang, they go bang, bang, bang when the basketball came back up. And, I just found it fascinating, watching that. And, I learned a little bit about sound then, but you just have to pay attention to how long it takes to get there. And the farther you are away from the subject, the longer it's going to take for the sound to get there.
Because, that's so hard to keep talking, and that, like you said, when you can hear the results, it's hard to do. If you switch the sound, that's fine, you can say it, but if you hear yourself back just even half a second later, it drives you mad. You just can't continue. You can't think straight. And it's a bit like, as I said, when people, it's not the alarms that frighten people from coming into your house. It just drives them crazy because they can't bear to be, they can't think. Like, what did they do? I think in one of our shopping centres, what did they do after hours? They stuck all speakers around all the openings and played Frank Sinatra music and all the things that all the youth of today would absolutely detest. And that stopped them from sitting round there. They put all that, so there was playing, or Dean Martin, everybody loves somebody sometime. And they're playing all that. And they did that because that kept them away, because they wouldn't congregate after hours in the doorways, having a drink or things like that. So it worked wonders because, as I said, it was so annoying for them. And I thought, I'll 15 that never realized he was being used as a security device. So.
Oh, yeah, with like you say, the audio can be used for a myriad of different purposes, and so I mean, even like in war, a lot of times they will use that type of thing. I heard a story about in World War II. There was the Germans had these guys, these American and English soldiers. They were all kind of surrounded, and they were waiting to be rescued, I think. And so what happened was they were playing all this audio over there, with big speakers about, hey, if you surrender, you'll be treated well, and all this kind of stuff. And this has been going on for 2 or 3 days. And there was this guy that crawled around all around the area and set up a bunch of speakers on the the Allied side, and all of a sudden he started blasting this really well-known music from a Jewish German composer, and started blasting them. And it's one of those things where they, Mike Rowe, the guy that had that Dirty Jobs show.
Not really.
Okay, but anyway, he's just a real conversational guy. But he tells stories. He has a podcast, and they're really short. But he tells stories very much like Paul Harvey, the rest of the story. And he tells you this funny story, and then all of a sudden at the end, you find out who that really was, and it's somebody you've heard of. Well, the guy that crawled around and did all that, speaker stuff and played that joke basically on the Germans during that period of time was Mel Brooks.
Oh, okay.
So he he was pulling pranks even back then, I guess. But they had to sit there and listen to that to the music that they were trying to get rid of.
Well, he did the History of the World Part 1, didn't he?
Yeah.
He never did a Part 2, did he?
I don't know if he ever planned to.
No.
I think it was
History of the World Part 1, because I know he did a few, but he's just done so many good things. Like nearly everybody would have seen Get Smacked, because that was his baby, wasn't it?
That I'm not sure. I didn't realize he was connected with it, but it does have that zany flavor to it.
I'm sure that's one of the first saw Mel Brooks. I'm sure that was one of his early ones, was Get Smart. So I thought everybody would know him from that. But I just loved all his films, the Blazing Saddles. I think when I was when about 13 or 14. I thought that was outrageous. That one, it was just so good, because it said all the wrong things that you could do. Well, it came out.
You'll notice that the person who can get by with saying anything they want is the person or the comedian, whatever, that makes fun of everyone, not just one group. Not just one, you can if you make fun literally of everyone, then you can get by with it. Because there's nobody left. You make fun of everyone.
But I mean, he made fun of everybody, but some people can be horrible, rude, and that, but he was just, it wasn't hurtful, the things he did. I don't think.
No, it was just comical stuff, and some of it really these days, I don't know if a person could pull that off or not, because a lot of it was racial. Oh, but it was making so much fun of what other people, were. I don't know, it wasn't necessarily a personal thing. It was making fun of people making fun of racial things. Was more what it was. But even
then, back then, when they came out, yes, it was making fun of that, but it was sort of making a statement saying how this really does happen. It wasn't.
Well, this really does happen, and look just how absurd this is.
How stupid it is, but it showed you, like Blazing Saddles, that nobody would take him as a sheriff. And that said, well, why? I'm going to die for you anyway, so it doesn't matter what color I am. But that's the sort of thing it was pointing out, where people take notice to see that when they see it in comedy. But if you did it seriously, and sometimes people wouldn't like it a lot of the time. But it's
well at the end of Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yes,
they made Achu. They made him the sheriff of Rottingham was what they were calling it. The sheriff of Rottingham, and all of a sudden everybody in the whole scene, it pans back and it says, "A black sheriff," and he turns around, looks at the camera, and says, "Why not? It worked in Blazing Saddles." Oh, but like you say, you make such an exaggerated fun to make I mean, the exaggeration is that you're making fun of the way people make fun of that, and so that's what made it so funny and so acceptable all at the same time. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and so this was a long way round of getting around about the start of the show. Is that I think if you've watched the tech down over that, I've invested in one of the new OLED TVs.
Mm-hmm. You said you were looking forward to that.
So now I've got to invest in watching a few more movies now to take the advent. But I don't think I'll have any problem getting to do that. But that's what I wanted to do. So I thought, those OLEDs have just got such good color on them, and the nice black and whites. I really like the deep color on them. So I'm looking forward to getting mine. But I've got we had it on sale yesterday, so I've got it at a good price.
That's always good.
So just waiting for the delivery. Not this Saturday, the following Saturday I've organised it for. So then the big task is getting rid of the Sony 32-inch.
Okay, so is this okay? This is a conventional CRT type of television then?
This is about 120 kilos worth of, and it's upstairs. It was hard to get it upstairs. But like my friend said, yeah, but you don't care about it coming down, do you? Throw it out. So
yeah, I mean, if you don't even really have to give it a soft landing so much, you just kind of, oh, there it goes. Hey, no. If you do decide to dump that out of a window, make sure you take a video of it with some of your good equipment so we can see it in slow motion.
Well, no, because and then you'd see it go straight through the veranda and through the roof.
Oops, not good. Well, that would be good video on this end, but I don't think it'd be very good for you.
I'm old enough to realize the 120 kilo TV out the window thrown, it's going to go wrong. It's like these videos where you see people moving pianos, and that you say, I can see it's going to fall to pieces. They're trying really hard.
On the comedies, the pianos are up so high they have a chance to reach terminal velocity before they hit the ground, and it's always a really good explosion when it hits at the bottom. It's great.
I always used to remember as a kid in England there was at the park, the People's Park in Grimsby, and there was always the fete once a year. Like here we have the fete, and one of the competitions is wood chopping. Where they chop the woods there. But one of the competitions they used to have, there was the 3 burly men or 4 burly men in the competition, and 4 pianos, and each had a sledgehammer, and who could smash it to bits.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
What they did who could smash it to smithereens in the quickest amount of time. And I always thought, but then I said, those poor pianos, but I thought they must have got them from somewhere. But they did that every year, and I used to think as a kid that was fantastic. As I said, that's much better than just a boring old log cutting. So I'm always watching that log cutting that they chop their feet off, because they do it so hard and they move so quickly. Or there was a fraction out and they'd chop their own down ankles off, wouldn't they? The foot off by the ankle and that. So.
And like you say, they're so used to wielding it even within pretty precise tolerances and stuff like that. But everybody has to admit that they do enjoy some good wholesale destruction. That's one of the reasons why I would really like to have a really nice slow motion type camera. One of those really high frame rate type of things, to where that would be so cool. And of course, once you get within the ranges you really need, it is extremely expensive. But I really enjoy seeing these things happen in slow motion. Actually watching something break, you see where the crack starts on the wood, and then watch it move along the thing. And that's one of those things that I'll probably never put the $20,000 out for, but it would be so cool to have one of those fancy slow motion, and I mean really, really high frame rate cameras, to where you could really stop stuff like bullets coming out of guns and things like that. I think that would just be fun.
Have you seen what I saw? It was a while back. I don't know if it still is, but it was the craze that you at your wedding or something, you hire this booth and they come round and like with a big background and it's got one of these cameras. And you just get people there, and they give you things to throw at them, and tip over them. But it's a 3,000 frames a second camera, so you get people behind there and throw balloons of
and watch them.
water and watch all the face as it's wobbling. But they do that, or throw confetti, or just something that just people got into the booth, and that was part of all the guests would get in there, and I thought that would have been fun, really fun to see who could do what. Okay, there's a champagne glass. Let's just drop do that and do a champagne fountain or whatever they wanted to do. But it was something like outraged 3,000 frames a second, so it would record when they record a gun shooting, but that sort of speed. And I thought that would be a good idea at a wedding, so you get people and then it could come to the booth and say something normal at normal speed, and then somebody tip a bucket of water over them or something, and then you could slow that down. So.
No, that sounds like a tremendous amount of fun, but like you say, as far as I know, that's never been any kind of a custom in the U.S. Now, at different little community carnivals and stuff like that, the local fire department a lot of times will have a dunking booth where somebody's sitting on the chair and you have to hit that target and then they fall down in there. And that's always a lot of fun. There's a lot of trash talking, oh, yeah, right, come on. The person sitting on the stool was like taunting, the person who's throwing the ball, that type of thing.
We're a strange race, humans. We're not happy unless somebody's getting hurt or humiliated. That's isn't it? We no matter what you say, we all enjoy that, and then we say, "Oh, are you okay?" But we've always laughed beforehand. If we weren't like that, nobody'd watch the football, car racing, anything if nothing ever happened, would they?
Yeah, they're just kind of hoping for a wreck, in the NASCAR type of thing.
What really annoys me when you're coming home from work and then you're stuck in a traffic jam. And it's because there's an accident on the other side of the freeway. Not on your side, because everybody's stopping to have a look because they love an accident.
we used to have trouble with that on the interstate between here and town, in Charleston where I work at. And anyway, but then they put up these really, really high medians in the middle of it, these really tall concrete walls in the middle of it. And these things are like 6 feet high. And so you can't really see so well what's going on over there, and so now traffic on the other side of the, is completely isolated and over by itself. And it's completely, you can't see the accident going on over there, and you can see they're stopped, but other than that, so you just keep on going your merry way because you can't see anything to stop and look at. But people will not stop on an interstate highway, around here because it's just a good way to get yourself run over. It's not something people do very much.
I've been here and somebody in front of me just stopped dead and was looking. I thought, don't they realize you can't do that? And I thought, how do you don't realize it? You can't just stop. Oh, look, and then you bib and they get really annoyed with you. So, well, what do you think? Just get going. You're causing more trouble if the ambulance need to get in there. The emergency services might just get out of the way and just clear out and that. But as I said, you don't mind so much when it's on your side of the road. If the accident is, you can understand it being a bit awkward. But when it's on the other side, that usually the one that's got the accident's flowing much smoother because people get a better view. Whereas the ones on the other side have to stop a bit more to slow down so they can see it. Whereas on one of our freeways here, they just seem to have cleared, they had all the trees in the middle and you couldn't see the other side. Now they've just gone and cleared everything. So I thought that looks good. Now people can see what's happening on the other side. So it might be safer for some reasons, but other reasons it will just slow things down, I'm sure.
Well, I had a friend, it was last night actually, that after I got off from work, he's on vacation, but he's just getting some things done around the house and needed to get rid of some trees that he had cut down and cut up, just blocked them up. And he just needs to get rid of some of this big stuff because he's got way too much firewood on hand. And of course I can always use some more. So he just said, well, I'll bring this out to your house. Well, he was following me, and this is just a regular 2-lane road. He was following me to get to my house, and a deer ran out in front of me.
Oh,
which happens all the time.
Well,
So,
that's right. Yeah,
you just won't watch for them. But this one here, it was one of those ones where it's running around and not really sure which direction to go, and it could do anything, including jump up on the hood of your car. You just don't know what this deer is going to do. So, I mean, because they are very dangerous, and so, and very damaging. I mean, if you just tap one, it will, it'll actually move your fender or whatever like that. It's not like a moose, but it's a white-tailed deer. But anyway, so this deer's running around trying to figure out what it's going to do. But he stayed far enough behind me. He was hauling firewood, so he stayed far enough behind me that there wasn't even a chance whenever I hit my brake of him even coming upon me and hitting me. He saw what was going on, saw me stopping, because it was like 55 miles an hour at that point where it was at. And so I'm stopping and getting out of the way. The deer is confused, not sure where to go. And finally it runs off, the other side of the road and go ahead and gets out of the way. So he didn't have to deal with it, but he was so far behind me that it was plenty enough time for him to stop so that he wasn't going to hit me. And so, that's good. The thing is, though, you don't avoid an accident when the accident starts happening. You avoid the accident a long time before then by not following people so closely.
That's right.
Watching
Definitely.
for little glowing eyes on the side of the road in the middle of the night because there's a kamikaze deer out there waiting for you.
But you're so true. Is when you drive, and some people you think that they won't see anything that that close, but like you don't. People say, "Well, I was doing that." No, you've got to drive for others.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to drive and say, "Well, they're going too fast. There's something coming up. They're not going to say, I better back off because I'm going to be into them." If they haven't, but then some people say, well, that's their problem. Well, no, it'll soon become your problem if they hit something and then that comes flying into you. So you've got to try and make their journey as safe as possible. And a lot of people don't do that. They just care for the sort and can't think ahead. Like I had the other night, we've got coming home from work here. There's a part of the road you go and turn. It sort of goes right round the corner, but you can turn off to the left, which is still really straight ahead. But then the road goes round the corner, so there's other cars coming round the other side. And this fool overtook me, because I was slowing down to go, and overtook me on the corner and cut in and into that one. Whereas there could have been, if they weren't looking, but somebody could have been coming round that corner that would have had a head-on straight with them. And people don't seem to understand those two white lines mean don't overtake. You're not supposed to go over the lines. If it's two solid white lines, you're not supposed to do it. But it still amazes me that people don't understand what the signs mean. And like we've got like a crossroads here. Well, not crossroads because people don't seem to understand them here. But even one that says give way, and they just fly through it. I said, hey, you've got to look left and right to see what's coming because that other road's got right away. But you can see they just go, and it's just pure luck that people haven't collided. And I must say, the other night, heard that the other night, somebody did that. So I was lucky they didn't come into my wall when they did it. So, but nobody was hurt.
That's kind of dangerous. Yeah. We've actually had wrecks down below. There's a curve right down below our house down here to my right, this way. That'd be my right. And anyway, and I mean, we've had tractor trailer trucks come up this real windy mountain to come up to the house thinking they've got a shortcut. Looks good on a map, but buddy, about the time they get to the top of the hill, the first mile, it is brutal on a truck, and they'll come through the curve right down below our house down here, which is very sharp, and they'll catch a car in that curve and just scoot them straight sideways right up against the guardrail. And that happened so many times. For the first 10 years we lived here, it probably happened 20 times. Tractor trailers doing things to other cars. And then there's a section of guardrail about halfway up the mountain that the tractor trailers are constantly taking out as they don't realize what they're getting into. Well, we had one wreck over here and in that same curve to where a guy was drunk, had a couple other people in the car with him. But I mean, the road's not, again, nothing around here is level. So I am probably sitting right now about 60, 70 feet above the road surface that's down over the hill from the house here. Right. So they crash into the mountainside, and it's not like they're going to get to us because we're quite a ways away. But somebody actually jumped our neighbor's driveway down there and started coming up the hillside toward the house. because they were still at full speed. But what's funny is it's woods, it's a forest. When the leaves are on, you can't even hardly see our house from down there. And Buddy went up through there, took out 2 trees, and got about a third of the way up the bank before they got stopped by the trees. It turns out nobody was hurt. He totaled his grandmother's car, I think. It was his second time he'd done that, and he was afraid he was going to get thrown out of the military because, he'd been warned the first time, and now he did it again. It's one of those things. You choose to drive drunk whenever you leave to go to the bar.
That's right.
Because you know you're going to have to drive back, and you're drinking, knowing you're driving back. But he destroyed that car. He took that, and he took out our complete cable internet system, jerked it completely out of the side of the house. Yeah, totally. But nobody was actually hurt, so this was good. But what happened was we'd been having trouble with our internet for years, and our cable cutting in and out and didn't know what was going on. They still had that old 70s 5 cable. And so what happened was when they come up to look at it and do it, because it jerked it completely out of the side of the house, even though he was 50, 60, 70 feet down in that direction. It jerked it completely out of the house. And so they had to completely replace it from the pole down on the road all the way up here. Well, what happened was they come up here and they said, well, we have some of the 6 cable, but I think this run's probably too far for that. If you can go without your internet one more day, we'll get some of the good stuff. I can wait one day. You give me some good stuff. And that was right before we started doing, no, it was while we were doing the show on Blab is when this happened. Because, I'd had a little bit of trouble when we were on Blab. Well, they fixed it. And then all of a sudden, the internet is amazing. Now it's just great because we actually have the good cable to carry it.
So he did you a favor, really, because we would have never replaced it. Said, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Holbrook, we can't replace a cable just because you wanted to have it replaced. But the driver wrecked it and they had to pull it out so it was easier to replace it. So, with the blessing in disguise, as I said, there's always good that comes out of some things.
Yeah, that was definitely the silver lining, and I've been happy with my internet ever since. It's been wonderful. And then combined with the fact that I ran, Ethernet all the way up here, and I'm plugged straight in, and I'm not trying to do it with, like Wi-Fi or something like that. You can't really stream good video with Wi-Fi for the most part.
No, I'm plugged in because it changes so much. It depends on the load, and it just flutters so much. You just can't guarantee. Whereas when you're plugged in, even if you haven't got quite it's steady that speed. Your system gets used to it, and it just goes nice and steady. So I did the same thing. Went to the trouble of doing a cable from the modem down here, hooked up into there, because Wi-Fi is okay for everything else. Because you don't care if it drops out for a second or two, everything else, it's not the end of the world. But as I said, when you're doing this, you don't want it to interrupt the broadcast because it's so important, the message we're getting across.
I'm running into see, I heard that slightly dripping sarcasm there. But I'm having trouble. I'm trying to do Skype calls down in Florida where my mother lives at, and their internet, their Wi-Fi is just horrible. And I mean, the other day I was on there and they could see me, but I couldn't see them, which was fine. So I could hold up the cat and they could see the cat and, do whatever we were going to do. But I mean, it just wasn't, but it's just awful. I mean, you can't, the internet is just horrible in there, and they live right in the middle of town. And I'm not sure why their internet would be so bad. I imagine they've probably got so bad cable anyway. We're using Wi-Fi. We got to do one call one time, but it was just so grainy and everything. And just, again, I'm set up naturally plugged straight in. I've got a microphone. I've got, I've got lighting and everything. And so, you do your best with the whatever you can get. But it just shocked me, them living in town, how slow and bulky the internet is.
But then if you think back if you had that sort of speed 10 years ago, you'd be happy for that. But now
you would.
Can't accept that now. We've got so many things to love with the streaming TV. Things like we've just got here just this week is one of our TV stations has gone into receivership.
Oh.
Because they said people they're not making money, and like they said, more the people that are used to watching it, they don't. They just sit there, watch YouTube, get Netflix or things on demand. They don't care that there's this show on at 7:30 at night. They'll watch it when they feel like it. And I must admit, I very rarely watch TV at a scheduled time unless it's something, maybe a current affair or a news program, or usually it's only something that's current that you're watching that you'll turn on. But anything else, if it's a series, you say, and I haven't recorded any. When in the early day video, I used to record everything and sit back and watch it. Now, if there's something, I like that, I'll just wait for it to come out on DVD in the series, and then I'll watch it, or wait for it to come on Netflix. But do that now.
Do you remember when we were kids, though, that sense of loss if you missed an episode of your favorite show? Because it really was lost. It was gone. And it was gone, and you would never have a chance to see that ever again,
And then here we had, years ago, there was things written into the law that said when they played something, they weren't allowed to repeat it for X amount of years. So you weren't, but then to change it, and then as soon as you change that, you'd see it, on Wednesday. Then they'll say, we're going to do the encore performance on Friday. So you mean you're going to repeat it?
Mm-hmm.
So,
but it's an encore performance.
Done that, then 3 months later you see the same thing. So you might see the same thing now with, like, even cable. You have it at 7 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. The same thing, don't you? They do have the same thing. Just in case you missed this, we'll just thought we'd play it again. But I think even those things are dying, where people just want to watch things when they want to at the right time. It's just
it's on demand.
On demand, but when they get the advertisers, if they can get their message across, and I don't think they're missing out, because when me and you want something, the first thing we do, we type something in, and you look for the adverts, you look for a product, you'll type, like I'm interested, bought my new TV, I'm waiting for that coming, and then when looking at that, I thought, well, what do you need now with the 4K Ultra HD OLED TV? Well, now your DVD player is not good enough, is it? You've got to get one of the next generations, which is the Ultra HD Dolby Vision. That's even the next thing, compatible DVD Blu-ray player. So then you've got to look for that. So you type that in, and so you see all the ads, and you see all the people, like the home people, says, I've got this one, it's a piece of crap, don't buy it, or something like that. Or then you say, and hang on, he says it's a piece of rubbish. Now this person, the next one, it's the best thing since sliced bread. But it's like TVs and everything. We've all got our own likes and dislikes. Like I was watching some of these things with the DVD players, and they were showing that between an LG and a Sony, and one person said the LG's woeful. It's so bright and light, whereas the Sony's got so much vibrant color. But what it reminded me of is when color TV first came out, that people was just so overawed with color. They said people were orange. You know how, like, I was looking last week. It was it was really bright, exaggerated, too vibrant. And to me, the LG looked okay because it was brighter but more natural. But it wasn't as colorful, definitely. But to me, life isn't like that. I don't mind a bit of a color, but I don't like, how people. You'll see when they do the photos, the sky is so blue, it's not true.
Yeah.
It's just so saturated.
Wouldn't you like to live in a comic book world, though?
But it's just not like that. But as I said, I like to see things a bit natural. I don't mind a lot of color, but I don't like to see it too overpowered. Whereas some people like to see, I can see all these billion colors. I want to see every one of them.
Well, to me, it changes on the subject matter. It seems like to me that everything before World War II and even during World War II, for the most part, I think the whole world was black and white. I really don't think anything was actually color. And so you really expect to see these things in black and white. Now, one of the things that Garvis was talking about in the Cinema Toast Crunch show, he watched the new Wonder Woman movie. But he said the big mistake was that he watched it in 3D, because they lose about, I think he said 35% of the brightness whenever they make it into 3D. And he said it was so incredibly dark that you couldn't hardly see or tell as much about what was going on. And he said, I mean, he went into the theater and saw this and said it was just bad. I mean, he really would not recommend anybody to see it in 3D because it took so much away, because there were things in the shadows you couldn't see happening.
And
You might hear a noise, you might hear a noise, but you couldn't see anything. And so whenever, the different subject matters, different movies are shot in different lights, like the movie Blade Runner, that is so dark. If you ever took the original and turned it into a 3D movie, you wouldn't be able to see anything hardly. So each TV reproduces maybe certain things really well, but since the content's constantly changing, especially on today's TVs, you can watch anything from the 20s, all the way through. You never know what it's going to have to reproduce. You need something that is a good middle of the road reproduction of everything, rather than just something that excels at one thing and doesn't do any good on the rest of it.
And there's using this comparison between the Sony and the LG, and they were showing, the Sony's so much better because it's got all this vibrant color, and look how dark it is, and exactly, the LG wasn't, but you could see all the details in the shadows. You couldn't see through the shadows in the Sony, but then they reckon that better. So, well, I don't know. Well, what? But then somebody said, "Well, what did the director want you to see? They should really publish something on there. The director expects the color to be like some blurb or something to say what they expect, because a lot of people have it all these different ways, and you can blow the colors up or have it washed out, but it all depends what the director intended, because some films, they are in color, but they tend to have the colors washed out, because like you said, they want it in color, but it's like the World War II movie, but they don't want it too vibrant, because that's World War II was not in color.
Yeah, it was not very colorful at all.
You usually notice people have a lot of grays and slight bit of red.
Yes.
Never have any vibrant red, but they're in color, but you don't notice it. If you still have that, they give that perception to you that it's in black and white while still being in color. Mm-hmm. So, because like you said, World War II, it's not in color. It would lose any credibility. You said, "Oh, that's just been made yesterday." If it's too much color, that's just a set.
There was a very, very small amount of color shot during World War II, and they've actually done shows on World War II in color. But obviously it's grainy. It's grainier than the black and white. Because right. In order to get the color reproduction, they weren't able to get as much resolution as they could in the black and white filming. So, it's got its pros and cons, but, you just get the impression that before a certain year, people even saw in black and white that there was nobody ever saw any color in anything.
That's why, because you always think, oh, life must have been dull and boring. Because you think there was no color, but they said no, it was just as bright and colorful as it is today. The forests still look the same, but you just can't imagine. You think, no, it was all dark and dingy because it was all in black and white. So
yeah, I think World War II was a pretty dingy time. So just the whole attitude of it. Yeah.
So I'm looking at a new DVD player. So what's the one I've come up across that's probably the best one? Oppo, is it? OPPO, Oppo or something like that.
Never heard of that brand here.
Oh, it's one. Yeah, it's quite popular in America. I can't remember what it is. Oppo, I think it. I'm just thinking what it is. Or maybe I'm saying it wrong. I think it's just have a look at OPPO. I think. No, DVD player. See if I'm probably saying it wrong anyway. DVD Ultra. What's it? What did I say it was? It's
you said Oppo. I thought it was OP.
4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. God, you've got to have so many things to get these right these days. Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I mean, do you have the actual Blu-rays that are that high level to play in it?
Oh, but then you've got to buy them as well. So that's why I'm not in any hurry to get it, because you've got to get it as well to do that as well. You see, so what's it, the best? What is it? We say the best 4K Ultra. God, what would we do without the Google to search for best 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray player? Okay, that seems like
that can bring world peace. Make sure you put that on the end of it.
That's right. So I'm just trying to think. It's APPO, but it's not a. But they say that's the best one, but it's around about $900. So
that's probably why I've never heard of it. Yeah.
Not even looking for that. But somebody was saying the other day, as I said, people moan and groan about how expensive this is and how expensive that is. And he says he remembers, a group of 10 friends getting together and buying somebody a DVD player for a birthday or a wedding gift. And they said that was just a normal DVD player. And he said that was over $1,000 or $1,200. He said that was what it was. They said now you can buy the same sort of one that's probably better for about $29.
Mm-hmm.
It's just quite
and then you can easily hack it into a multi-region, and the world's at your fingertips. I remember my oldest brother was always he was the electronics technician and stuff, and he always had the first technology first. He had some automation in his house on his lights, and this was back in the 80s, and he had the first VHS player, and it was one of those top loading ones that's about roughly the size of 2 inkjet printers, in thickness and width. I mean, this thing was 2 feet long. I mean, and about probably about 10 inches tall. And the whole thing come up out of there, and it was just like the broadcast style, and you just slide the tape in it, and kind of like closing the boot or the trunk, on your car, but it was just so amazing that you could actually. And the first one we got, we were a little behind the times, I guess. The first one we got was actually it was a front load type of a thing, and so I thought we were kind of modern, but. You could always count on my brother getting things first, and we would get a first look at it, watch movies with him and stuff. It was pretty cool.
I was just talking to somebody in one of the stores, and I said, yeah, I miss the days with old video recorders. It was good when people used to bring them in under their arms, and it says this video keeps ejecting the things or just won't work, and it says, does anybody else play around with your video? And I said, no, just me. I said, nobody touches it except you. No, I'm the only one. So well, stop putting toast in it then. And because quite often that's why the tape. And they said it's because the kids have obviously been playing. I think
it was a toaster inside.
Kids have been playing with it. So so you put the toast in it, did you, or you put 50-cent piece in the slot? Because it was just a magnet for kids, wasn't it? It's a letterbox. We'll just put things there. That was just asking.
Stick anything back in there. Then there was that expression that I heard where they were calling people, oh yeah, he's a blinking 12.
Oh, okay. What was a blinking 12?
That's basically somebody who has absolutely no concept of technology so much that they can't keep the 12 from blinking on their VCR.
That's a
he's a blinking 12.
What we used to have, it was always a good thing you would, because most videos had 6 or 7 program timers you could do. So people would go home and say, I'm going to set this to record at 6 o'clock for an hour. Didn't record. No, you put 6 a.m., not 6 p.m. So it didn't work. So it was for that day, so it would never do anything. But it hadn't happened, so it would stay there. So I said, okay, I'll try it again for another one. And that might work, and that go off. Then to do another one. No, that didn't work. No, well, you've got it for all the wrong things. You've done the wrong things, everything. And then when they got to 8, and it said, well, no, you've used 8 of them. You can't do any more. And it says this darn thing, and they unplug it, bring it back into the shop, plug it in. I said, well, that works fine. Because unplug it.
Reset when they...
and the poor bit, because you knew, and it usually happened about 12 months after they've got it, because usually it took that amount of time, because it would be a 1-year timer, not a date, but it would only, so if you didn't get that, if you put it on the wrong time and didn't switch the timer button on, 7 o'clock would come and go, and the only time it would come and do it again would be 12 months later if you happen to have the timer on and cancel itself out. But it was a lot of things like that you know, the system was, and then where they had these things in the TV guide where you could scan it, so people didn't have to set them. Remember, Panasonic had them, so you had to scan them in the TV guide, and then it would set your DVD, your recorder. But the only problem with them, they'd set them for 7:30 to 8:30, but you'd always miss the beginning and the end of the show because everybody always starts a little bit later or a bit earlier and finishes later or earlier. So I always used to start it 10 minutes before, and if you didn't have anything else, at least 40 minutes after, just in case.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, like we've gone over our time now again. So it looks on the wall here. It says 9:01, and it says it's 49 degrees outside and 68 in. I've gone Fahrenheit for you today. So.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah. No, we were in the up close to 90 degrees yesterday. And overnight, the area I'm working in now on the dock, it stays pretty warm out there. So we're talking, you know, around 80 degrees in the area that I'm working in.
Well, this one's just saying, as I said, it's 68, or the 68 out, or the 9 degrees Celsius outside. Because I've just bought this, and it's got a little sensor that you stick outside.
Sure, yeah.
And then it tells you it's cloudy. So, I don't know how it knows that, but it says it's cloudy out there, and that's what it's doing. Anyway, thank you again, Mr. Holbrook.
I'd like to say one more thing. Everybody go check out the Cinema Toast Crunch podcast. Yeah. You can go to the Facebook page, just Cinema Toast Crunch podcast. That's not cinnamon, cinema, as in movies. Cinema Toast Crunch podcast.
So it's like the donuts, you said.
Yes.
It's like the cinnamon toast.
Yeah, there's actually a cereal called Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but this is a play on that Cinema Toast Crunch.
I didn't realize that. I always thought it was Cinema Toast Crunch. I never even associated with cinnamon.
Yeah, cinnamon it's actually a commercially produced cereal. I'm surprised they haven't been sued yet.
Well, that close anyway.
Oh,
We'll get around to it, I suppose. Anyway, thanks again for watching, everybody. And we'll catch you next week, which will be show 50. Show 50. Well, we're going to do something special? No, but that's fine.
We'll probably do some more of you remember the scintillating drivel we were speaking of earlier?
Right. But what I would do, I'd love to get something and put videos on here. But the bandwidth just won't handle it, will it? It goes too slow when you try to broadcast and play a video. So you can put it into the recording after it, but you can't do it on the live stream. Anyway.
Well, you might be able to bring up a still shot of what we looked like on our first show.
Oh, that's right. We could do that. Yes.
I don't think we look much different.
No, well, you just come.
I'm still bald, you know. It's all the same.
Well, yeah, not as I said. Well, I can't even remember how long ago that was now. It was because 50 comes around so damn quickly.
It's been more than a year because, like you say, one each week, and we've missed a few weeks here and there in between. So, yeah, it's probably been a week and 2 or 3 months or something. I mean, a year and 2 or 3 months, I mean.
So we'll catch up again next week, which is show 50 on the 21st of June. I don't know if you've been noticed, but even last week I put the wrong date on that one because I keep putting it Tuesday night instead of Wednesday, but 21st is Wednesday next week because I keep updating it on a Tuesday night. That's the problem, I think it is. So Anyway, thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you all next week. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening. Links for a free subscription, feedback, and everything else we do is at holbrooknewmedia.com. You can find all things Geoff Blanchard at geoffblanchard.com.